with all of you at this moment in time and how the collective, shadow, the collective wounds are coming up and the collective awakening is happening at the moment. It's a great awakening that's happening on this planet. And for me, it's important to just to share awareness that I've observed over the years. And I've been doing this work, I think, wow, a long time. I think 30 years, 27, 30 years now. And what the more I realized more and more, the more I worked in my system, it was really teaching me how much the ancestral epigenetic information was affecting me. And I know in the beginning I didn't want to know anything about my ancestors, or I don't want to touch those fields. Why should I? Because they're not safe for me. So it's different for everybody, of course. So I just want to talk a little bit about the ancestral wisdom and then why our ancestors are important. What I realized, years ago is that, or what I was shown by spirit, the work I've done over the years was always direct. I was always getting information direct. It was through a being state. So for me personally, when I started this work, I wanted a teacher. I was really like, find the teacher, find the workshop. But the system taught me in a different way. I was told I need to go into be it first, and then I would get the information after. And that is the journey I've been on and being it, and then the information comes after. So, speaking about the ancestral work, why is this important and why would I be with the ancestral information? A lot of the time, what I realized is that, we are born, for example, as a spirit coming down into this physical body. And as we drop into the physical body, we come in as a child and then we come into our genetic place. So when we land as a spirit into our genetic place, it's landing into engaging into our epigenetic information, which is the blood information. And this is coming from our lineage. So if you imagine that you're dropping down into like almost like watching Netflix. You've all these movies, but they're the movies of the ancestors and they're in the blood. So when we drop in a spirit, boom, we get activated into these fields. And it reminds me of my chocolate Labrador. I didn't need to train him. He knew from his ancestors, you know, how to, when the paw was to be given or when to sit. It was just something that was in his genes. And I realized more and more that we have taken on a lot of epigenetic information. So for me, first, it's to honor that. In my case, I'm the son of my mom's line, and even if my mom's deceased, I'm still connected. So there's the epigenetic river. So mom should be behind me. I should be standing in front of my biological mom, behind me on the left-hand side, and then she opens up the full tree of ancestral information from her and the aunts and uncles all the way through. And then dad's line is behind me on the right-hand side. And dad's line will open up all the epigenetic information in the ancestral information within the dad's line. Now, why is that important? What if I'm adopted, for example, or I want to, my parent family, I don't want anything to do with them. I'm estranged with my parents. So for me, that's really important to know because what it's doing is it's disconnecting you from the river of antidotes. So as we land into the physical body and we go into a genetic place, it means that we've got access to a river of information that when topics open in our daily life, as they do, then the antidote can come from the ancestors. So if I'm not in the river, it's a living hologram of information which is running in my system all the time when I go into the right genetic places, or everybody's in the right biological place. I mean, my mom's my mom, my dad's my dad. Even if I'm adopted, my parents, like the adopted parents, can be like parents, but they're not my blood parents. But my soul knows, even if I don't know who my soul knows who my parents are. So with that information, then we can open up the epigenetic river. Now, the epigenetic river is crucial for me because it's got everything I need to survive and how to clear what's in my blood. Because in my life, these movies may get activated in some way. For example, say I know I'm from Ireland, so the famine was in my system. So then I'll have a starvation or hoarding energy in my system. I'll find it very hard, which I did, to let things go, or survival patterns very strong. So these patterns, unless, maybe I don't know about the famine, but my soul, my system knows, my bloodline knows, and that can affect me. And that could make me anxious. I've often worked with many people when the first parents were in the, even my ancestors, they were in the First and Second World War. But that information was within me. I didn't know about their history. So even one example is in this life I got poisoned by mustard gas, and I was like, why am I being poisoned by mustard gas? And then later I found out that one of my uncles was in the First World War and he died from mustard gas in the First World War. So see, the imprint was in me and I was magnetizing that experience to happen again so I could resolve it. So when I activated it within my genetic river, now the information starts flowing in a healthy way and I can grow from it. Now, when I start tapping into this river, it's going to start giving me information of what may be happening to me. Now, a lot of the time we'll feel that it's me. Especially, for example, it would be easy, say my dad was an alcoholic. I'd say, okay, well, now I know how to be an alcoholic or not to be an alcoholic. But maybe my grandfather was an alcoholic and I never met my grandfather and I didn't know he was an alcoholic. But my father doesn't drink, for example. But my grandfather had an alcoholic problem. Now, that information can jump to the next generation, to me, jump over my dad and then affect me. Because I don't know about this experience of having a dad as an alcoholic. So I often hear, people saying, well, I know how to be a good mom because my mom was so not a good mom, but she taught me how to do things right because she did everything wrong. So I knew how to parent my own children. So she made it easy. So the awareness in the system of what is corresponding with our life, what is happening within our systems, for me in my life system is sort of like going to show up what's in my inner world. The outer world will reflect the inner world. And if I'm not bringing a conscious information into the system and being conscious enough to say, maybe I'm having, I don't know, say someone broke into my house. Maybe I may have to look at my ancestral line. So is there anything like that in my system, in my bloodline, for example? Maybe I'm attracting a very aggressive partner. Okay, was there aggressive, parents back there, ancestors? Was there aggressive partnership back there? So the ancestral information is very useful to be aware of because that will then transform you and give you the keys on how to transform your system. Now, I, for one, didn't know much about my ancestors, but it was interesting when I started this work, a lot of it started coming to me and I started awakening because I started asking the system to show me more details or bring me the information. So in the next webinar, I'm going to work with a lot of this information to see what is in our ancestral line. And I thought it was mine, but maybe there's something from the ancestors which is causing us to fall out of who we are, maybe to go off the path a little bit or go out of our destiny, or maybe I feel trapped in a pattern in my life and I can't resolve it, or I feel just there's a blockage or there's deadness in my finances, deadness in my relationship, deadness in my health. Maybe that's coming from an ancestor. And without asking that information into your system, the system may miss it. So for me, it's very important to be in your genetic place. And always what I talk about first as well, for me, it's very important to honor all the missing children. So I may have had a miscarriage, a termination, or I may have lost a twin. are siblings that I'm not aware of. So it's very important that these children are honored in the rightful places and they go, they know the soul timing. Every soul who incarnates always knows the soul timing. So they knew, but they need to be in the genetics. So they need you as mom or dad or brother or sister, whatever it may be, because that's what they came for. They came not for the human experience, they came for it to get into the genetics. And once all the children are honored in the rightful places behind you, siblings, your own children, future children, then the systems are in flow. And this way, now we have got access to that river of support, which is always there for you, always there for you. With consciousness, you can feel like you have an army of ancestors supporting you, not against you, supporting you. So in these webinars, what I'm going to work with over the weekend, I'm going to work with bringing in a lot of information and a lot of open up where the patterns are, where the blockages are, where's the patterns which is disconnecting us from ourselves. For example, our virtues. If, for example, we had to leave our country and our land was taken, or there was colonialism, or we were the colonials, that will play out in our system, for example. And it depends on our geographical location, or it depends on our religious belief systems. What is our genetics? If there's a mix of different nationalities, different religions in our genetics, it depends. It has a different effect for everybody. And that's why I feel very blessed because I've worked all over the world with multiple religious and countries and different systems, which really opens up a full spectrum of support systems that I can hold space for, which is very important. So it makes a difference. For example, if you're Catholic, Muslim, Christian, Protestant, Jewish, it affects us in our genetic history, Hindu. And then, for example, if say one line of say my parents, one parent is Hindu and the other one is Catholic, they may not mix. So that is very important for me to address in the system. Or maybe they change religion over the years. So for me, it's very important to bring in awareness with the ancestors for my healing, for me to grow, for me to be whole, and to remember that I'm whole and not be pulled back into old patterns which are nothing to do with me, or take on patterns which are not belong to me. So in these 4 webinars, I want to really address those fields and to bring them up and bring awareness, and it's good to speak about them. And when you're aware of a pattern, say that was in your grandma's system, say, well, I can feel that's in me too. I have that too. With that awareness, then we can start sending it back and we can start closing the system and choosing to have a different experience. And for example, if I'm starting a new job, maybe I'm the first one to be an entrepreneur in the system. And now the system is freaking out behind me because the system said, well, no one was an entrepreneur. What about the wage? What about your safety? What about your retirement policy? You're on your own. Don't do it. So there can be a lot of fear and anxiety, and your system could freeze from being an entrepreneur or be blocked from being an entrepreneur because a lot of systems will be reactive then. Um, a lot of people, for example, if your ancestors moved to America, in America, you're having a new experience, so there could be a lot of hurting. You find it hard to let things go. So your history is important because it affects us. So it's good to know what's behind us, And there's a lot of gifts behind us. For example, even if I talk about the midwives are the ones who had the gifts in our ancestral line, the ones who took care of the families, who had the herbs, all the medicine, the gifts. So the midwives then were accused of witches, and then the system was disconnected. So what is in our lineage and what's stopping us in our lives? It's a very interesting question to ask and have that dialogue with yourself. So in this webinar, 4 webinars, I'm going to be working very deeply to bring awareness to what is in our systems. And maybe what happened in my childhood could be related to something which happened to my dad's childhood, my grandfather's childhood, or my own life. Maybe there's affairs in the system because there was divorce back there, or there was affairs outside in the ancestral line. So it's good to know what is in the system. Because when you're aware of what's in the system, then you can choose to be in it, continue it, or change the pattern. Or you're not doing it for someone else. You're going to do it for you. I'm going to have a drink for me, for example, not for my ancestors. So what is in you is very empowering when you bring awareness to it and when you know how to address it. And it can really help you develop. When your ancestors, for example, if your ancestors had gifts from the land, and if we go back really far back in a few hundred years or 1,000 years, even in our ancestral line, a lot of our ancestors back there had a lot of incredible gifts connected with the land, the weather, the stars, the universe. They had a lot of consciousness information and they lost it. So when you're taken from your land, for example, First Nation, if they're taken from the land and there's land grabs, they're taken from their values as well. So when you're taken from your values, then you're connected. There's a crack in your system, an opening in your system to take different values into your system, and they can be distorted ones like alcohol, sexual abuse energies. So then when you lose your powers because you lose your connection with the values and the virtues and the gifts of the ancestors. So it's very important to take all this extraction energy out of the system and to clean all this corrupt energies out of the system and then go back to your land and your values, the values of your ancestors. And when you do that work, there's a restoration of the values and the dignity and the qualities within the system. So this work is really, really important to open up and make your system like feel safe, feel supported, and be guided. We have so much support behind us that support us to go forward. And all these experiences then are in the back of the heart, which makes us stronger and helps us evolve. So at this time on this planet, there's a lot of AI coming in at the moment, or in at the moment, where we can, be bombarded with information without being. Information without being, for me, is the mind. You need time to be with it, to drop it into your system. And the field at the moment is so fast with information that we're not being the information, being the gifts. We're not letting it land deeply within our systems. So that makes a very manipulating mind. You could, for example, download a lot of information from reading a lot of spiritual books, and then your mind knows all the spiritual language, how to behave, how to show up, how to speak good, and how to fake the system, and how to fake yourself, trick yourself to think you're connected, but you're not connected. So all this awareness with the ancestors for me reconnects us to our true compass with God, with creation, with source. And this is very, very important work for me to do, especially at this moment in this time, is to reconnect to the basics, to reconnect on who we are, the true connection, the divine within. So this is what I want to open up, and this is why the ancestral work is important for me at this moment in time. And that's why these 4 webinars I'm working with is going to be working with disconnecting from corruption, disconnecting from extraction, disconnecting from self-hatred, for example, or war energies, everything which is not godly, the divine. So in these webinars, I'm going to bring a lot of restoration in, a lot of, powerful moments in history that affected your ancestors, which can come in as a wisdom to develop and never repeat them again. So I invite you to be part of this awakening of knowledge and remembrance, because it's remembering who you are and remembering who your ancestors are before the distortion. For me, this is important. And I'm looking forward to opening that space for everybody. The feeling of, for example, if you're working your system and you're not embodying, because maybe there's a lot of fear, anxiety from the past, from the epigenetics. And this is what we'll be working with. within this webinar space. So within this webinar space, I'm going to open up as well the knowledge of, I'm also working with First Nations. So I'm working with a tribe who went into the forest during colonialism in Kenya and basically was protected by the forest, and the other half experienced colonialism. And then when colonialism completed, they came out of the forest and cleared their own from colonialism, which then, because they knew they would repeat the cycle if they don't do that. So they worked with the mother tree and working with the systems of the ancestors. So I'm going to be working with this way of working too within this webinar space and open up the mother tree's roots, the forest roots, to root out all this disconnect that's in our systems. For me, this is important. So when I connected to the roots of the forest when I lived in Kenya, it helped me to go deeper into the system and access hundreds, thousands of years back where there's different distortion in the system and uproot it to clear it. When there's traits I have on my webinar, on the webinars in the academy, like for example, the family traits. Family traits is like a root that takes root in the ancestral line and is root to the next generation, the next generation, the next generation. It's like saying, well, we're like that, as a family. We're short-tempered, for example, or we're hot-headed. That's us. That's our family. That's a trait. Or, that's the way we are. That's a trait. That's something that's been there generational. The generational traits are roots that you need to pull up and then do constantly weed picking to prevent them affecting your life. So I'm going to be working with this. If you feel drawn, there's a webinar called Family Traits, which is very, very strong for this, or mother and father topics ones. And with this one, working with the ancestors over the weekend with all the disconnects will help you to clear any distortion which may be in your own lineage. And this is a really beautiful work to do because it's going to bring restoration from you and also disconnect you from those energetic fields which you may be attracting into your relationship or your life. So this is a little bit about the work I'll be doing. And that's why, for me, I feel very honored, really honored, deeply honored. And I realize the seriousness of the work, and I have a lot of respect for this work, and especially because I'm also working with First Nation and elders within the work and the mother tree. So we're getting like thousands of years of support to do this work. So I feel deeply, deeply honored and humbled with this work, because I really respect it, and the work needs respect because it's from God. It's from God. So I'm opening this space up in these 4 webinars, and I invite you, if you feel drawn to it, to come into them and to feel in. And it's about it going to a state of being. I also will be sharing different tools on how to clear and how to work with the ancestral work yourself at home. And that is really useful tools to know and really, really beneficial to know as well. So yeah, it's a beautiful time to do this work, and it's really a good time to start this work. So as it's also the full moon, and it's a good time, so I just want to offer you a short meditation to really drop into your heart space. And I invite you to really honor where you're at, and everything I was talking about will drop in its own way. Just holding space for you, being aware of your body, and then just being aware if there's anything open in you right here, right now, and giving space for you right here, right now, as we drop deeper into the body. And imagine you're just taking a 2-meter step in front of your mom. She's behind you on the left-hand side. She connects you to the ancestors on the left-hand side. And then your dad's behind you on the right-hand side. And he connects you to the ancestors on the right-hand side. So now you're in your genetic place. And then all your siblings on the left, the youngest, to the right on the oldest on the right. And maybe we've got siblings that we don't know about. It could be missing twins, for example, that died in the womb. Maybe we have. Just honoring that, and I'll call in the blueprint. and the blueprint for your children in front, or grandchildren in front. I first like to honor all the missing children in the system, and they go to the right, correct biological moms and dads with space. And as it's a full moon for, moving forward and seeing what's blocking us, let's ask the system, what's blocking us today, right here, right now? What's blocking us today? With your permission, I'm going to support you to clear anything that's maybe in the way of yourself, self-love, whatever's in the way of you. So now I'm working with frequency, vibration, and going into those places with you in the being state to feel what is in the way and simply be with it so it can transform and work through the system. So going deeper and deeper into the system with your permission. And there can be a lot of psychological misuse, for example, psychological games in the system from the ancestors, from you, from the collective. So let's see if that's there. Just ask God to work with that. Any splits from yourself, from your talents. Is there anything blocking you from from going for it, Maybe there's something holding you back. Let's ask your system to, if there's anything blocking you from moving forward, from being, let's clear that now with your permission. And the energy of the full moon this evening is there. Okay, there's a lot releasing from the subconscious of the mind. Going deeper. Good, there's a lot releasing and released, especially from the mind. Maybe you were psychologically manipulating yourself. And let's ask God, Spirit, to clear any psychological games that may be playing against you or others on you, and clear all psychological manipulation from the system. Psychological abuse. Let's clear psychological abuse. Breathing into your feet. Just imagine you're taking a breath through your body. All these old energies are unraveling, and the full moon will just lift them out. So psychological manipulation, psychological games. So this is making space to clear all these patterns from the mind and the games from the mind. Deflection. Now set the intention there's so much more space to be in the mind. There's a lot of mind games being cleared. Set the intention now, the restoration of your mind, restoration of your heart and mind together. I recently did a nervous system reset, which is very strong as well. Good. Restoration of the heart, mind, spirit. Now I'm inviting your spirit deeper into your body because there's much more space there for you. And we cleared whatever was blocking you. So now you can bring restoration to your self-confidence and your gifts, your talents. Your compass. Beautiful. Coming deeper into your restored back. And beautiful. Yeah, your restored new front. Much more space. Your restored left side and your restored right side. Restored roots, restored channel, restored core. Good. Coming deeper into the body, restoration in the body, making space for you. Coming home into the body, coming home into your restored back and your restored front. So just balancing the directions for the work you've done already. Let's bring victory in. It means we completed what our soul needed to complete today. And now everything is about a growing learning experience in our system, in our hearts now, not just our minds, our heart intelligence. The mind, body, heart can work together. Beautiful. You can come deeper into the back, deeper into your new front, deeper into your left side and your right side, above, below, below, above. So now everyone's in the ancestral line in the right places. You're in your genetic place. You're in your own channel, your own roots, your own core. You restored back, you restored front, you restored left and right side. So balancing the directions to integrate what we did. That our new restored front supports our restored back because we've changed. Restored back supports the restored front. So we changed. Your restored left side supports the restored right side because we changed. Restored right side supports the restored left side because we changed. Restored inner world supports the restored outer world. Aligned in my own system, my own body, my own place. Embodied. Beautiful. So now imagine you've changed your timelines, like you're jumping tracks to a new track. So now you're embodied in a new way. Deeper connection now is open with your ancestors and your ancestors to you. So they also can jump and change through this new information. And as they've changed, I've changed, we've all changed, future's changed. Above supports below, below supports above. Inner world has changed, outer world has changed. Mind, heart, body, spirit integrated. And the nervous system now is more integrated. I did a nervous system webinar, which is on the Academy. There's many, many webinars in the Academy for genetics, genetic imprints, family traits, for example, a very strong one. There's many there if you want to take a look on the website. And then over the weekend, I'm going to be working with the ancestors to bring restoration to where if there was any breaks within the system. And this is going to be a really exciting one. So I'm looking forward to bringing that webinar in for you all. And feel free to look in the website, damienwynne.com. And we have a lot in the Academy of different stages of consciousness with different consciousness tools and gifts and stages. And we're walking ourselves home with these webinars. That's how they came in over the years. So feel free, if you feel drawn to even one from a year or two ago, they get stronger with time and they're working deeper and deeper in the system. I call them living recordings then because they're matching you where you're at. So if you feel drawn to watch this one again, in a week or something, it'll match you where you're at and you'll redo it and have another experience, new experience. So yeah, if you're new, nice to connect with you, and yeah, feel free to have a look at the website. There's lots of free webinars there on the website too, if you wanted to explore. And then yeah, we've really strung one over the weekend with the ancestors, which I'm really excited to do. We'll have a lot more, and then I'll be doing some workshops coming up later. I'll announce that later as well. That I'll be doing workshops teaching this work and teaching the ancestral work too, and the work I've learned over the years. So looking forward, it's going to be a rich, rich year ahead and into the future. And I'm looking forward to sharing that with you all. Have a beautiful, beautiful new experience, full moon as well. And yeah, enjoy. Thank you, everybody. And I'd say it's all on the Academy, the information, damienwynne.com. And yeah, one of those webinars, maybe family traits, the genetic family systems, financial abundance, they're all there and they will work deeply with you, the reptilian brain, closing it down, going to super consciousness. It's another great one. So the God codes, love that one. Lots of great feedback there. So feminine, masculine wounds, mother, father wounds, they're really great as well to take a look at. So they're information I've been getting over the years from ancient knowledge, and they've been really helping me to change myself personally and then support people I support as well. So feel free to have a look at the website and just feel what you're being drawn to. Usually the ones you're not being drawn to are the ones with the breakthrough information because your system controls you that you want to stay in the norm. So be aware with that the system may resist because that's the one that can give you the biggest results. So usually when I go for a session myself, my system gets active and doesn't want to do the session because it's going to change the familiar and bring me back into creation, bring me back into the unfamiliar, which is me as a pioneer connected to creation. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you for being here and have a beautiful full moon. And yeah, if you feel drawn, I'll see you over the weekend at the webinar or a later date. Then we'll be in the academy like all the rest. And yeah, it's going to be a very good one, this one with the ancestors. Looking forward to it. Thank you, everyone. It will be different to the other ancestral work I did before. Enjoy.